So in the last video, we were able to import data from NASDAQ, and then we took a look at it through PROC Contents and PROC Print. However, we did run into one snag where all the data was imported as character data. There are a few ways to handle this. The easiest way, or the way that is easiest without too much knowledge of SAS, is to actually physically manipulate the CSV file. We can do this in Excel. So I'm going to open the company list file. What I'm interested in for this class, or for this particular video, is really the market cap. So what we're going to do is just highlight that. Highlight those values, so we can just highlight this. We can make it comma. Really what I'm looking to do is just make it a number, and then reduce the number of decimal places here. So we've essentially formatted this as a number, and it should allow SAS to read this in as a number. The other thing that we can do while we're in here is for this last sale piece, we can define everything as a number. However, for SAS, we would also want to remove these NAs. So let's just do that for both columns, last sale and market cap. We can go find and select up here in the home ribbon, or you can just press Control F and it'll bring it up. What we're going to do is replace NA, and we're actually going to replace it in these instances with a period. And the reason for that is that SAS numeric values in SAS, when they're missing, are represented through a period. So this way SAS knows that, hey, I encountered a period along with this other numeric data. This means that the data, that the value is missing. So we will replace all within this particular selection. So there are 33 replacements. We'll close. What we're going to end up doing, and we'll make sure this is still number, what we're going to do is save that file. We can save it as CSV. We will exit, and what we're going to do now is re-import the data into SAS. So open SAS Desktop. We'll go to the wizard, import data, CSV, next. File is located. SAS data folder. Next. Spring. Call it NASDAQ. Next, we'll hit finish. And one thing that didn't happen, because I was messing around with the data set prior to this video, is it didn't ask me to overwrite the data set, because it didn't actually exist there anymore. So if you followed along with the prior video and had a data set in there called NASDAQ in your permanent library, it would have asked you to overwrite it essentially. So a couple things, and you could have just selected yes, and it would have overwritten it. And a couple things when you're doing the import, make sure the file isn't open, because I ran into that issue where there was an error essentially that it couldn't be imported. So make sure the file that you're importing is actually closed. The other thing that's kind of interesting in the notes is, if you recall in the former video, it was reading in 10 variables. Now it's only read in 9. So what we're going to do is just run PROC Contents again and see what happened. Data equals 19.NASDAQ. To recap, this is our PROC Contents. It's going to give us information about the data set. While the data option here is optional, there is a default, which would be your last created data set. It is best practice to supply the actual data set that you're running the procedure on. Statements in SAS and then the semicolon, and then after a procedure or a data step, you would use the run statement. So we're going to run this. We're going to take a look. So you can see we still have the same number of observations, but now we have our last sale and our market cap data being read in as numeric, which is what we want. So what we'll do now is actually demonstrate the PROC MEANS procedure. So by itself, if you just do PROC MEANS, data equals SPR19.NASDAQ and run. This is pretty bare bones code, but SAS will run the MEANS procedure essentially on all numeric data. In this case, what we're going to see it for is last sale and market cap. Those are the two variables that we should display. Should be output from this procedure. So we'll run. It'll display our last two, only numeric values. So you can see market cap has a value for every observation. Last sale, we're definitely missing some here. About I don't know, call it 30, 33. And here we have the mean. So essentially, of those NASDAQ listed companies, the average sale or last sale at close of market on March 22nd, 2019 was $31.13. Standard deviation is pretty large relative to the mean, meaning there's a lot of variability in there, and that should be expected. Some companies have stock prices that exceed $200 easily. Here you can actually see the maximum, which would be $1,765. Market cap, unfortunately, are very big numbers. To recap, to kind of summarize what market capitalization is, this is essentially the number of shares outstanding times your average share price. This basically tells you the amount of value or the company that exists in the shares, the company's shares. So this also is usually used as especially for publicly listed companies, is usually used as a measure of the company size. So we would expect this maximum sale price here. While they might not have the highest market cap, this guy right here, we would expect them to be one of the largest companies represented in the list or on the listing. So let's just get the mean capitalization here. I know it's not pretty to read it, but it would be about 3.9 billion. It looks like. Yep. 3.9 billion would be the average market cap of NASDAQ listed companies. Obviously, that number changes through every day because the number of shares outstanding can change actually if a company issues more equity or if there are stock repurchases. So the company has the ability to essentially change the number of shares outstanding, and then also the share price obviously changes. This is market driven, so that means that market capitalization will never be the same. Obviously, you don't want the number to change too much. The severe declines in market capitalization are usually pretty bad, which means, and they're usually quoted in the news as the company lost X dollars in value, which for that particular day it might be true, but in the long run, usually those numbers are kind of overstated. But anyway, so this is kind of running the means procedure. Here we have some zero minimum market caps, which probably doesn't make sense. Also, the last sale price having a zero, which means probably that the company wasn't, for one reason or another, wasn't able to be traded that day. Could be a really small company that didn't have any trades, but ultimately there should be a price for the last share sold, and then also the market cap. If they have shares outstanding and the share price is not zero, then there should be a market cap. So this is essentially the bare bones output that you're going to get with the means procedure. Turning back to SAS now. When we go back to the editor, there is one option here that you can or another statement that you can use is the var statement. So if we just simply said var market cap, this is another statement, so it needs to be ended in a semicolon, and we run this. We're only going to see results for the variable that we called, which would be market cap. We can also add what was it, last sale, I think. Let's see if that works. Yep, and so then the output is displayed there. for the variables we explicitly list. Otherwise, if that's not provided, as we showed in the first example, only the numeric variables will be displayed in SAS from the means procedure. Now, there are other options here. I'll leave this as is, but we'll pull up the SAS PROC MEANS help documentation. So if we go here, we'll go to the syntax. There are options, and then there are also statistic keywords. In this case, what we're looking for are the statistic keywords. So if we go here, these are statistical keywords that we can supply to SAS in order to get more information than what's displayed by default. So what is displayed by default, it shows us right here, N, which would be the count of the number of observations, the mean, standard deviation, min, and max. You can obviously see we can call a lot of other variables. So what we're going to do here, and this is an option or a listing within the means procedure itself. So what we'll do is we'll call, I don't know what other ones we need. I know there's, you can call the mean, median to get an idea of how skewed the data is, which means where the the shape of the distribution. These are actually two columns. So I'll do N, which is default, N miss, which is the number of missing values. Mean, median, skewness. We can go on to the next line. We'll do standard deviation, min, max, and we'll do P99, which would be the 99th percentile. We can also do P1, which would be the first percentile. So again, to kind of show what we're doing, we're providing statistic keywords here in order to call these statistical measures from our two variables. So we'll do that. We'll run it. And you can see here, market cap doesn't have any missing. Here are the 33, showing 33 missing values here. Then the mean should be the same as what we viewed before. The median is going to be a slightly different measure because the average is, the mean is exceeding the median. This means likely that it's left skewed. Right skewed, which is also indicated by a positive skew value. These are pretty high, which means there's a good amount around 2 billion, 1 billion market cap, but then there are obviously some very, very, very large market caps out there. This one, I think this 900 billion, 901 billion, which is probably either Apple probably, or Amazon. I don't remember last I saw which one was ahead. And then 99th percentile would be 46.7 billion. And so here, share price 15 cents, that'd be a pretty low share price, and then we have 229.27 as the 99th percentile. So this is, we essentially showed other ways to call other statistical measures. As you could see on the website, there are obviously more available. But to kind of recap what we did in this video, we manually edited the CSV file so that SAS would read it in as numeric, two variables as numeric, the last sale price, and then also the market cap. And then we ran the PROC MEANS, the means procedure, and messed around with some of the statistical keywords here as options, and then also demonstrated the var statement, which allows you to explicitly call the variables you want to see in the analysis. So with that, I will close the video.